We live in a country that is going slowly insane, and in some instances not so slowly. Speaking of a country going insane, and I think it was the what's the human rights website? Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. But Franklin Graham is shooting off his mouth again. The racist Christian thug, the Christian psycho, the dead Billy Graham's son, Franklin. Now he's saying that school boards must be run by evangelical Christians. Okay? You hearing that? Franklin Graham is an extremist. He's of the same ilk and disgusting composition as some of these crazed Muslim religious leaders who also want to see all the children raised with strict Islamic schooling. Forget about science, forget about engineering, forget about the facts of this planet, forget about everything except religious bullshit, whether it is Islamic religious bullshit or Christian religious bullshit. Either way, it's bullshit. So Franklin Graham says that school districts right now are controlled by, quote, wicked and evil gay and lesbians, end quote. School districts are controlled by wicked and evil gays and lesbians. That's Franklin Graham, direct quote. And he says that the truth is school districts have to be run by evangelical Christians if America is to avoid God's wrath. Well, I have to kind of watch my language because of my 15-year-old producer. But you can imagine what I'm thinking right now about this religious terrorist, Franklin Graham's putrid God, and everything about Franklin Graham. It's incredible. Last week, Graham spoke with Fox News religion reporter Todd Starnes. And in the interview, this sick, degenerate Christian fascist, Franklin Graham, said that, quote, President Obama sold himself completely to the gay and lesbian community, end quote. He added that Obama was pushing a dangerous policy that would allow sexually perverted people, his words, to take advantage of women, end quote. And when he was talking, now he talked about this a couple of years ago, Graham did. This is the latest. And discussing public schools, Graham said this, quote, I want the school boards of America in the hands of evangelical Christians within the next 4 to 6 years. And it can happen, and that will have a huge impact because so many school districts are now controlled by wicked, evil people and the gays and lesbians. And I keep bringing their name up, but they are at the forefront of this attack against Christianity in America. End quote. You know, it's just it's just beyond belief to me. And a lot of this has been brought into sharp focus because of what Kathy and I and Molly have experienced over the past 4 weeks with Kathy's diagnosis and surgery and so on and so forth. It brings into focus, it did for us anyway, and I'm sure for other cancer families, which is what we are now, it brings into focus the idiocy and the insanity of people who are running around screaming about this insidious attack on America by gays and lesbians. it's beyond madness. Religious insanity is, of course, the worst kind. Graham also said, quote, "The country is imploding." He says, "We are seeing a moral implosion." I'm still quoting. "Just like we saw the World Trade Center on 9/11. When the planes hit the tower, they imploded. They fell from within. And this is what's happening to our country. We're falling within. Our foundations have been weakened by immorality, and it's beginning to crumble." And his sick, degenerate sister, Anne, I can't imagine how these two were brought up by Billy Graham. Billy Graham obviously got inside both these kids as they were growing up, Anne and Franklin, and completely removed whatever part of their brain generates or interprets logical thought or reason, and replaced it with religious terror, to the point where Anne Graham and Franklin Graham can't put together a coherent thought that isn't totally corrupted with this religious hog crap. Anyway, Anne Graham recently argued that her sick, degenerate God allows terrorist acts like 9/11 and these mass shootings in order to demonstrate that people need her sick, degenerate God. And if people refuse to accept her sick, degenerate God, they can expect terrorist acts to continue. Because in Anne Graham's mind, her actual last name is Lotz, L-O-T-Z. That's kind of ironic. In her mind, her God is a terrorist, a vicious, violent terrorist, threatening death and destruction if this terrorist God is not placated and his demands are not met. Jesus God, so to speak. Recently, the sick, degenerate Franklin Graham encouraged Christians to martyr themselves for the Christian dream of theocracy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just like the Islamic bullshit artists who tell people to blow themselves up and Allah will be happy. These people, all of these people are so corrupted. Franklin Graham said, quote, "What would you take a bullet for? What are the principles and beliefs that you would not compromise under any circumstances, even if it meant putting your life on the line?" End quote. I wonder what the degenerate, sick bastard Franklin Graham and his screwy sister, I wonder what they would do. How would they martyr themselves? But the bottom line in all this, Franklin Graham and his sick wife and the sick Betsy DeVos, who's in charge of the U.S. Department of Education, they are all dangerous so-called Christian extremists plotting to take over public schools and bring theocracy to the United States. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.